We're going to move on to the testimonial part of our Dome Day presentation here today. So we have Michael and Heather Vanderscheuren will be joining us for our testimony.
So Michael and Heather met as freshmen at UW Eau Claire, where they both were in the marching band. They married a year after graduation in 2012. Michael graduated with a degree in music education and currently is in his 9th year teaching band and general music at a middle school in
Kaukauna. Welcome to Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Heather graduated with a degree in nursing and currently is working on call as a nurse in a long-term care facility. Michael grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, where his family was very active in the Schoenstatt movement. Heather was a convert to Catholicism in 2011. They made their covenant of love on August 14th, 2016. They have 5 children, ages 8, 6, 4, 2.5, and 1, and live in Appleton, Wisconsin area. They are currently in a Schoenstatt couples group, and their oldest 2 children attend a girls group.
All right. Well, go ahead and let you guys take over from here then, and welcome. Thank you guys for taking the time with those house full of busy kids to be with us.
I just got back from dropping the kids off at a girls group meeting right now, actually. So here we go. I just want to make sure, can you guys see the slide? Does it say St. John the Baptist? Oh, perfect. All right. Very good. Very good. All right. Well, here we go. Thank you so much for having us. We're really excited to be here on this beautiful Saturday morning. So hopefully we can provide some things that might be of profit to some folks. Most of us are familiar with these words from St. John the Baptist. It says, "I am the voice of one calling out in the wilderness, make straight the way for the Lord." Honestly, this line has never really resonated with me. To me, it makes it sound like St. John must have been a crazy man who just lived in the wilderness and in the desert eating locusts and not giving us much direction, right? Yes, make way the path of the Lord. Obviously, yes, we want to do that, but how? Then a few months ago, our family was at a mass where this was the gospel, and the priest explained that this translation is actually slightly incorrect, and that the punctuation needs to be switched around a little bit, so that it actually should read, "I am the voice of one calling out, in the wilderness, make straight the way for the Lord." Now, this is something that I can live by. This is something I can get behind. Get in the wilderness. Burn away your physical passions, your inner animal. This line has now become my new mantra for me, and it is certainly going to be our family's motto this Lent. Let's get in the wilderness. Let's make straight the path of the Lord, and let's earn the joy of Easter. Okay, so that's what we're going to be really focused on today. As we said before, I am Michael Vanderscheuren, and I grew up in the Schoenstatt movement as a cradle Catholic. Our family was very involved in the Schoenstatt movement, and I was involved in boys groups, and it's always been a part of my life.
And I am Heather. I am a convert to the faith in 2011. I got introduced to Schoenstatt through Michael and his family, going to Covenant Sundays, and we eventually did our Covenant of Love in August of 2016. And we have 5 children. Our oldest, Cecilia, is 8, and then Zaylee is 6. Gemma, who is very cranky this day, I can't remember why, at 4, and our 2.5-year-old Thomas, and our almost 1-year-old Benedict. Our purpose today here is to share how our family approaches Lent and how that process has evolved. Some things we share for sure to be familiar with everyone, but hopefully we can bring some new ideas for you in your Lenten journey this year.
Okay, and obviously we have quite younger kids than the Brockstrops do, so the jury is still out on our kids. We haven't had to deal with those teenage years yet, which are obviously a difficulty for sure. Oops, I went to the wrong thing here. I'd like to share this link with everybody. Let me see if I can find it. I might have to go back. A little bit of technical issues, sorry. So this link is the resources that we are planning on using in our Lent this year. There's going to be books. There's going to be some kind of podcasty type of stuff. There's some links to other places. I'm trying to find how to put that in the chat. Be patient with me for a moment. Chat. I was here a moment ago.
Down below. Press the mouse down below and it should come.
Press the mouse down below.
Otherwise, you can share it at the end of the.
Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. I'm sorry about that. We'll keep moving and we'll share it at the end. No worries there. Back to present mode. Okay, so yeah, we have a document. All of the resources that we're going to be talking about today, we have links in this document, and we'll be sure to get it in the chat at the end. And then if you would like to add to that document and share what your family uses as resources for Lent, I think that would be fantastic. And then we can all leave today with, if nothing else, a document full of everyone else's resources that may just be helpful. Okay. All right. So there is a balance within each of us, within each person, between our physical and our spiritual natures, or our animal and our angel. Our faith is physical and spiritual. Christ became 100% man, yet was also 100% divine. God made us as physical and spiritual creatures, and he caters to this. It is everywhere in our faith as Catholics, and it's especially visible in the sacraments. Water is physically poured over us at baptism, and our soul is cleansed of original sin. We physically tell the priests our sins in confession, and we are given absolution. We physically receive Christ's body during the sacrifice of the Mass, and he nourishes our soul. We are physical and spiritual creatures. So if Lent is going to be profitable, it must be physical and spiritual for us and for our children. For our family, Lent is the most productive when we take the time to reflect and get organized before Ash Wednesday, when we assemble a Lenten spiritual daily order, and when we get up and go. So what does the world think of Lent? What are the kind of the stereotypical Lent sacrifices? I like to think of what Oprah thinks of it. You get a fish sandwich and you get a fish sandwich. Everyone gets a fish sandwich. Lent is all about going out for fish fries, right? Or maybe Willy Wonka can put it better for us. Oh, you don't eat meat on Fridays during Lent? Tell me more about how good of a Catholic you are. Right? Those are kind of our stereotypical Lenten sacrifices, right? And yes, do all of these things. No beer, no chocolate, no meat on Fridays. But like everything else, when you get what you put into it, right? You only get out of it what you put into it. We strive to make our Lent meaningful to where we are spiritually, where our spiritual progress is and where we want it to go. So go into the wilderness, like John the Baptist says. Tame that inner animal, strengthen the inner angel, and earn the joy of Easter. So, first step for us, reflect and make a plan. My pre-Lenten reflection begins with these questions. What is keeping you from being a saint? What physical passions are in the way of your spiritual progress? How is your time spent? We probably all daydream of walking up to the pearly gates of heaven at the end of our lives. And I often imagine meeting St. Peter. He is sitting there at a long table as though he's at some board meeting discussing my productivity over the course of my life. He has statistics and pie charts all over of how I've invested my time. How big is that TV slice compared to prayer? How big is that media slice of the pie compared to spiritual reading? How much time was spent whining, even if it's just in my thoughts, about crosses that we could have carried joyfully? All right.
So we want to use Lent to attack our shortcomings as a family and as individuals. For example, for us, it's really embarrassing to admit, but we struggled to say a rosary at all early in our marriage. It always felt like a chore, and I struggled to make it a part of my daily routine. There's so many wonderful benefits to praying a daily rosary, so we knew we wanted to make it a part of our routine. Each Lent, we set goals to say the rosary more frequently and progress year to year, and now we say a daily rosary year-round. One thing that did encourage me to want to pray the rosary was a book by Anne Catherine Emmerich on the mysteries of the rosary. It made me feel like I was witnessing each mystery as it happened, and gave me details to focus on when I was praying, making it easier to stay focused on the rosary rather than letting my mind wander. Another great resource we found to keep our littles engaged was a set of board books made by Catholic Sprouts, and they have a picture on each page of the mystery, and they have little beads on the page so they can count along. And they love to get them out and count the beads, turn the page, and they've started to recognize the stories behind it. We also get out the children's Bible for our older children to show pictures of the mysteries, and usually they know the stories, then they can reflect on it a little more. And we have links to those books in our Google Doc.
So for our family, one of our reflections that we noticed a few years ago was, hey, we need to get to work on the rosary. We need to make this a part of our daily life in Lent and beyond. Let's continue our reflection though. What are your worldly attachments? What keeps you from devoting your thoughts to spiritual ideas? For me, it's food. I love food. Fast food, slow food, sweet, savory, morning snacks, afternoon snacks, evening snacks, midnight snacks, soda, beer. If I had more money, I would probably just spend it on more food and better food. What's worse is that my mind is often focused on food. I love daydreaming about food almost as much as food itself. This would not look so good on that imaginary pie chart that St. Peter is holding in front of me. For me, food can become an obstacle to God. If your eyes cause you to sin, pluck it out. And Lent is the season of plucking. So to tame my inner animal and make more room for my angel, I give up eating between meals, going out for lunch, soda, and alcohol for Lent. But that's not the only distraction, right? And especially not for our kids. Our kids aren't as tempted as food usually as I am. There are a lot of other distractions to feed that inner animal in our world. Our world is bent on making those distractions everywhere. The media is sure of it. There is so much that I'm not even sure what media is anymore, except that it just keeps growing. Billions of dollars are spent to suck us, and especially our kids, into it. We live in a world where binge watching Netflix is considered a healthy downtime activity. Here comes St. Peter with that pie chart again, right? TV, news, radio, politics, celebrities, games, sports. It seems unavoidable, but it is avoidable. Lent is the time to reset and pluck it out. In our house, the kids do not watch any secular TV during Lent. There are plenty of other options, movies about saints, even VeggieTales, right? VeggieTales probably don't work so good for the teenagers though. We always watch the 10 Commandments, and it always takes us several nights, and the kids love it. All of them have a devotion to Moses now because of that movie. There are many other movies like that, and they really can spark little devotions for our kids. We are physical and spiritual creatures. TV can be a good impact on our kids' spiritual life. I always give up listening to the radio for Lent, and then a few months ago, the radio in my car broke. It was agonizing at first, like I was torturing an inner animal, driving to work every day in silence. But as I have added in more prayers in my daily drive to work, I don't miss it, and I'm not going to fix that radio.
So one particular area for me with that struggle is being too involved with social media in my phone. Phones are always with us and can quickly become distracting noise in our lives. Every little noise it makes needs our immediate attention. When I have some downtime in my life, I find it so easy to get sucked into mindlessly scrolling instead of spending time doing meaningful things. Usually this ends in me being upset about something that someone I haven't even talked to in years posted on social media, or a headline posts up that irritates me. When I look at the clock, I'm usually also more upset with myself for wasting my time on things that aren't enriching my life, things that aren't bringing God into my daily life. So for Lent each year, I resolve to give up all social media and try to distance myself from my phone as much as I can. Phones can bring in positive things too. You can do some of like the saints readings that we'll talk about later. There's positive things out there. But for me, I tend to just get into scrolling on unimportant things. So I try to instead substitute spiritual reading, or even just reading for fun when I find I have a few minutes to relax. With spiritual reading, one of my greatest shortcomings as a convert to the faith was the knowledge about the faith. I quickly realized that spiritual reading early on in my conversion process was essential to gain knowledge. And after we got married, we had our first child 9 months later, and life got really busy, and my spiritual reading just really quickly fell away.
I have often struggled with spiritual reading and even reading in general. I had made commitments to do spiritual reading every Sunday throughout the year, but I did not retain what I was reading week to week. And so it seemed to have little effect on my spiritual development. So this has been a focus for my last several Lents, to do at least 10 minutes of spiritual reading every day. You don't have to ask many Catholics what books they have been reading lately to put together a pretty lengthy list. Our Lord has provided plenty of materials, especially through the saints and through Schoenstatt, which we've already discussed earlier this morning. He obviously wants us to do something about it. This Lenten habit has spilled over to my daily life year-round. Now I wake up before the kids can be a distraction to read every day. Not only is it a great spiritual experience while I'm reading it, but with the grace of God, that content then lingers in my mind for the rest of the day and spills over to everything else that I do. It is a good attachment. One of the books that has changed my life is this book. Well, I suppose it's on the slide. I don't have to hold it up. Many of you may be familiar, if you're familiar with Schoenstatt, I'm sure you're familiar with the Joseph Engling, and maybe you've even read this book. The Joseph Engling biography. Joseph Engling is a Schoenstatt hero who studied under Father Kentenich at the very beginning of the movement, and he was eventually drafted into the German army during World War II. There are many fantastic anecdotes about Joseph Engling. We could spend all day talking about him. But what really stands out to me is how relentless he was in pursuing his sanctification, even through many obstacles, even as a soldier, and his incredible organization towards that goal. He used a spiritual daily order, took notes on his shortcomings and progress, and had very specific goals. In a nutshell, a spiritual daily order is a written checklist to make and accomplish your spiritual goals. It is putting that good old German organization to work in your spiritual life. If you take time to organize your Google Calendar, line up all of your Zoom meeting links, sort the silverware in the drawer, fold the laundry, then why not put tenfold that effort and organization into organizing your own eternal redemption and your kids' redemption, into organizing the path for you to become a saint. So let's get organized.
So this is our daily order that we do for Lent. It includes our don'ts and our do's. Our don'ts are all the things that we're going to be giving up for Lent. And we take time individually to reflect on what inner animals we need to tame this Lent, on what things that need to be plucked out. So this is our Lent from last year, that Michael had no snacking, no going out for lunch, no alcohol, no radio, and twice weekly secular TV. And I did no chocolate, no social media, no alcohol, and also twice weekly secular TV. The kids only watch religious TV, and our oldest, Cecilia, chose to do no treats, and Zaylee did one extra chore for me. And then you can see here on our do's list. So we have week by week. Week 1, we do our rosary daily. So each of these boxes, we will check off every day that we do the rosary. And the saint of the day, Franciscan Media puts out a saint of the day on their website. There's a link to that in our Google Doc that takes 2 minutes to even read it to you. So you can just put it on in the background, learn about a saint of the day. Try to share that with our kids. They have so many great stories of the saints. They're such an inspiration, and we find it really beneficial for us to spend a little time with that. So again, every day we check off the box. Spiritual reading, like we touched on, every day you check off the box. The kids reading, and then also Stations of the Cross. This past Lent with COVID, we were able to go into the church nearby still and go in and do our stations. So twice a week as a family, we go and pray the stations. So then week 2, we sit down on Saturday night and reflect. How did we do last week? How do we need more? Do we need to grow more? And then we can add in more and progress, or say this was just too much. We need to scale back. It's not beneficial if it's stressing you out,
especially for the kids.
Yes. So, and then we also list our pilgrimages. We try to take pilgrimages to these 3 locations every year. And if I don't write it down, I don't keep it in mind. I'm going to forget to schedule it. And all of a sudden, you know, it's 2 weeks to Easter. So we put this on our fridge and it is with us all the time to reflect on, are we doing it and how are we doing? And then also we have our heart chart. This version was actually painted by Barb Brocktrop, who spoke this morning here. And so this initially started decades ago with Michael's family. They would take a big white piece of poster board, and every time you would offer up a sacrifice to our Lord or up to the covenant of love there, you would put a different colored heart on the chart. And the thing was to bring something beautiful to our Lord at the end of Lent and have something beautiful and colorful to show of all of our sacrifices we have offered up. This Lent chart is now, you can see all the little heart stickers here. That is the same idea that every time you offer up a sacrifice, you put one down, but that's to make a soft path for our Lord to travel. This little Jesus figure travels each day. So you can see Lent progressing. You can see how many hearts you're putting up each day. There are some special stations. Like here, you can see a fallen cross where Jesus falls. Our children love to plaster those spots with hearts. So that way Jesus, when he falls 3 times on his way to Calvary, that he has a nice soft place to land from the sacrifices that they have offered up for him, which is just such a beautiful thing that they get so into it and they really enjoy it. And the adults can obviously put on their hearts too when we make sacrifices, and use this as a reminder. You know, if you go and do this without whining, you can offer up a sacrifice to Jesus. It's a way to bring little things to their everyday life. I have friends that also, if this sort of a chart doesn't work for you, they offer a jar that's empty and they fill it with beans for every sacrifice their child makes. And then the night before Easter, they turn into jelly beans and they have the kids earn them back by doing sacrifices again. So those are just a couple of fun ideas to try to bring that to the whole family.
One thing that I'll add in about the heart chart is at the beginning of Lent, it's almost a little bit of a struggle to get the kids going on it, right? Because it's out of routine, right? Kids work best with routine. We all work best with a routine. So every night, you know, after our night prayers, we'll go to the heart chart and we'll add our hearts for Jesus. And at first it becomes a reflective activity because the kids are thinking back on what their day looked like, and they're trying to think like, oh, could I count this as a heart? Could I count this as a heart? But then it very quickly, the kids start looking forward to it. So instead of it being a reflective activity where they're trying to look back on the good things that they've done, instead they wake up in the morning and they're thinking, how am I going to earn hearts today? Rather than thinking backwards on it. Okay. So our last big point that we want to make is that in Lent, we need to get up and go. Pilgrimaging is something that is just essential to our faith. It's all throughout the Bible, right? There's a whole chapter in the Bible called Exodus. The Holy Family moved to Egypt not long after Christ's birth. There is a long history in our faith, in our redemptive story of moving, going. Let's get out of the house, get out of the quarantine, right? Get up and go. Make your Lent spiritual and physical. We have found that taking little pilgrimages is an easy way for our kids to see how their faith can be spiritual and physical. We physically go on the pilgrimage, and it is a spiritual reward and a physical reward. One of our favorite places to go is Our Lady of Good Help in Champion, Wisconsin. No, you should not have heard of Champion, Wisconsin. It is a tiny little town. It's about 20 minutes outside of Green Bay. And it is an apparition site. It is the only approved apparition site in America, where a sister saw the Blessed Mother appear to her in the woods of Wisconsin. And now there's a beautiful church there, and there's quite a following of people who show up. This is the church that stands there now. There's so many people who come to Mass on Sunday that they cannot fit in that church, and they have now built a little event center. Well, it's not little, it's big enough to hold quite a few folks. And now they're starting to fill that up as well. So we go there for mass, and it's a fantastic mass. The priests are so reverent, and that means so much to the kids. Reverence resonates in kids, and we see that when we go here. So we see a fantastically reverent mass. We hear a fantastic homily from these priests, and then we try to get there either early or stay there late and do walking stations. They have outdoor stations. You can see this picture here. And when the stations become physical like this, when we're outside and we're genuflecting on the brick, and when it's pouring rain outside, and when there's slush on the ground in March in Wisconsin, it makes our faith that much more physical, even, and especially for the kids, right? They see that, and that's a little sacrifice that can be made, and certainly something that's doable. There's also the easiest rosary you will ever say with 5 small children at this shrine. There's a nice walk that goes around the perimeter of the property that has banners for each of the mysteries. And as you're walking, you say the decades, and you see those banners, and there's statues, and there's visuals for the kids. It makes our faith physical and spiritual, just like it should be. There's also a picture here off to the right. This is the crypt. This is in the basement of the church, where is supposedly the exact location where Sister Adele saw the Blessed Mother appear to her. Okay, totally worth it. If you're in the Midwest, or if you're ever in the Wisconsin area, it is totally worth going to Our Lady of Good Help. It's very close to Green Bay. You're all Packer fans, I know. So go and visit Lambeau Field, and then go check out Our Lady of Good Help. It's like a 2-hour drive from Milwaukee. So it's totally doable if you're in the area. Okay, another place that's very doable for our family is Holy Hill, which is also in Wisconsin. It's in Hubertus, Wisconsin. And I know you shouldn't have heard of that either. I had to Google that one. I didn't even know exactly where it was. I don't think that town even exists, but it's this fantastic basilica on top of a hill. And there's a couple of churches within the basilica. Over here on the left is the main church. When our kids walk into this church, they cannot help be overwhelmed by its beauty. I don't think anyone really could, but that's the kind of thing that makes our kids realize this is special. This is physical. There's this great big hill, and there's a winding path that goes up the hill with life-size statues of the Stations of the Cross. So we go to Mass, and then we walk down to the bottom of the hill, and the first station is at the bottom of the hill, and we walk up the hill towards the church, doing the Stations of the Cross. It makes the stations that much more physical and just as spiritual, and our kids really respond great to it. You maybe are not in the Wisconsin area. This maybe not be super meaningful to you, but I'm sure that there are gorgeous churches in your area. I'm sure that there are fantastic priests who can give marvelous homilies and do a super reverent mass. And even if it's a drive away, it is totally worth it. Make it fun. Get in the car, put some tunes on, pack a lunch. On Sunday, we can drink soda on Sunday in Lent, right? So get the kids some good snacks and make a good time with family. Invite some friends. We always go with our extended family, and we invite everybody along. It's good times. A very special pilgrimage for us every Lent is to go to one of the shrines in Wisconsin, one of the Schoenstatt shrines, either in Milwaukee or in Madison, to go to a Covenant Sunday. It's so great for our family, for our kids, to see other families who are crazy Catholics, right? Because out in the world, the world isn't necessarily filled with us crazy Catholics. So if we can show them that, hey, we're not alone here. We've got a network at Schoenstatt. We've got a network at Holy Hill. We've got a network at Covenant Sundays. Then that is something that sticks with the kids for sure. Let's see. There is one more pilgrimage that we do, and it's more of a virtual pilgrimage, traveling through time, if you will. But Bishop Sheen, our family has a pretty strong devotion to Bishop Sheen, and all of his talks, at least all of them that I know of, are online. And we have a link to that on our document that we'll share with you in a little bit. And he has fantastic talks about specifically Holy Thursday and Good Friday, and walking you through the Passion. So we try to, at the very hour, when the Last Supper is happening on Holy Thursday, we'll put on that talk. And a lot of it goes right over the kids' heads, right? But they're witnessing us being moved by the talk, and they're at least there, and it's a physical experience for them. And eventually, when they start to understand it more, it will certainly be a spiritual experience for them as well. We've also made a pretty good devotion to going to very special masses for the Triduum, for Holy Thursday and for Good Friday and all that stuff. We used to go down to Madison, to the Cathedral Parish in Madison, to be with the bishop there, and it was something that was really special for our family, and it just made it that much more special and spiritual for our kids.
So our Lent, we want to be spilling over into our life. We don't want it to end at the end of Lent. We want to be forming new habits and learning new things. So the goal for us is to not only offer up sacrifices to Christ, but to start these habits. As I said previously, we really struggled for many years to get in a good routine of the rosary, and now it's just a part of our daily life. The kids know when it's time for our prayers and start handing out a rosary to everyone and setting up the books to use. It's so sweet to see our 4-year-old proudly getting out our books and describing the mysteries. After our heart chart stays up for the kids to display their accomplishments there. Our 8-year-old decided that Jesus had risen and we needed to add the risen Jesus to the chart. So she went to her art table and crafted her risen Jesus and put some hearts on him and put him up on the board. It was so cute. So we have also gotten the habit of sitting down and doing our spiritual reading a couple times a week. It's so important to our family to teach our children about their faith and help them form strong attachments and love for Jesus at a young age. I always enjoy their faces when they light up and they recognize the readings from doing spiritual reading at Mass. They're so much more engaged and focused at Mass when this happens. Our families also continue to take pilgrimages throughout the year. We enjoy attending Mass when we're able at Our Lady of Good Help. We tend to pack a lunch and jump in the car whenever we have a free Sunday. Our 4-year-old in this picture here has formed quite the attachment to one of their angel statues outside of the crypt. She affectionately refers to it as her angel and always needs to make a visit to it whenever we go to give it a hug and see how much she's grown next to it. We also have gone on a pilgrimage to take our goddaughter to Mass. Her parents currently are not attending Mass and are not practicing. So we have been traveling down about an hour away to take her with our family to their local church. These pilgrimages emphasize the importance to our faith to our children, and they recognize that each of these pilgrimages is both spiritual and physical, and we have a good time.
All right, so we're going to kind of sum up a little bit here and wrap things up a little bit. Let's go with Saint John the Baptist. Let's go into the wilderness and make straight the path of the Lord in our souls. Earn your Easter. Easter must be earned. The joy of Easter must be earned. Remember that Saint John the Baptist also said, I must decrease and Christ must increase. My physical passions must be controlled and our Lord's spiritual plans for my soul must be realized. Bishop Sheen says, without Good Friday, there is no Easter Sunday. So let's earn the joy of Easter. And that's what our world's focused on, right? They want the joy of Christmas without the Advent. They want the joy of Easter without the cross, right? And if our kids understand that those joys need to be earned, that they need to go through Good Friday to get to Easter Sunday, that's what we want them to stick with. Remember what is at stake and get to work. This is not a game. It is not even life or death. It is far beyond that. It is heaven or hell. And the reward is unimaginable happiness for eternity with our Creator. The joy of Easter is great. Let's get to a good Lent.